So how's everybody? Happy Friday. My name is Luis Alejandro Lopez. I'm here with Real Life Trading, and we're doing the real estate show. We're going to show you, as usual, how to invest your money in real estate, the different avenues, different ways where we can, collect all the money that we have, or even if we don't have money, how to make it progress and how to make it grow in something that is tangible that we can touch and close doors and open doors and do all kinds of things. So me and Hector first, we've been doing this for a long time. Hannah here has been doing it for a long time. However, as usual, you heard me, you heard it all the time. We show you what would work for us. We show you, Hannah's going to talk to you about what's worked for her. We've done it. We sweat it. We fix him. We flip him. He dropped. We've done it all. However, we're talking to you about our experience. Please, if you're going to do something, if you're going to invest on something, contact us, let us know, talk to someone. If it's not us, somebody else that you trust, run the numbers, make sure things work fine, make sure that you understand what you're signing when you get a loan, when you're buying a property, when you're doing whatever. Getting in and out of the property takes a long time than instead of going in and out of a trade where you can click a mouse and that's it. Okay, so please do your research. And if anything, just want to let you guys know that this show is for educational and entertainment. Okay. Then here again, we're doing our QR codes. If you have any deals, if you want us to look at something, if you have money that want to invest, if you're finding the stuff that you need money to invest with, okay, let us know. You got our QR codes. Hector's just dropped. It's in California. And my QR code there, you get us our emails, our phone numbers, or text messages. Anywhere that you need us, we'll be there. Please let us know what you got. Okay. If anything, we're also in reallifetrading.com/RE. All right. So with that, let's talk to Hannah today. Hannah's been amazing. We met a couple of times in a couple of those meets that Hector is at today, looking for investment property and looking for investors. So she is a big one on doing Airbnbs. She's been doing short-term rentals for a long time. She had the whole thing pat, and she's here to talk to us today to see if the whole thing. I'm not sure if you heard it, Hannah. Can you talk? Let me see if I can hear you first.
Yep. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Awesome.
Have you heard about Airbnb bust? I mean, I can open the phone like a million times a day, and a million times I got Airbnb bust, Airbnb bust, Airbnb bust. So
I know.
let's talk about it. How's it working? If it's really happening, if it's not really happening, what's going on with short-term rentals? So go ahead, introduce yourself.
So I personally hate that term. It is a word that's used to create fear,
Of course.
and it's like the media does with everything. I mean, who knows? This Category 5 hurricane is maybe a tropical depression, and they're just trying to get us to buy a lot of water. It's pretty much the same thing. I think that it was something that developed because people saw a difference in the market in the last couple of years. Obviously, we know that, from 2020 to 2022, the travel was just insane. In 2020 and 2021, where people were trapped inside their homes. This was an opportunity for them to, get out and be able to be somewhere else, without having to sit inside of an airplane. People were afraid. They wanted to be able to be in a larger space with their families. So the growth that the market saw in the last couple of years was just unheard of, But before 2020, there was an STR industry. Short-term rentals have been here a long time, and I'm in South Florida. We have had vacation rentals long before short-term rental was a niche, and before Airbnb was something that was a household name. And so I think that I would say there is not the same volume that we would see in the past couple of years, because that was an unheard of volume. People were making so much money by just throwing an air mattress and a couch into a shoebox and putting it up on Airbnb. And so that's where, having an expert on your side and a professional that really knows what's needed to to create, the guest experience and create those 5-star reviews is just so important when you're going down this asset class.
And one of the things that I've noticed, and I mention every time that we talk about short-term rentals, I'm one of those that travels always to an Airbnb. I try to avoid a hotel because for me, traveling with the family is creating the experience. So every time I go somewhere, if I have to stay in a farm, if I have to stay in an airstream, if I have to stay by the beach, I want to have the experiences that, even most for my little one, because a hotel room is a hotel room is a hotel room anywhere in the world. So I want him to, when we go somewhere, it's like, wow, there it is. Even from the moment that we start, open the front door, it's like, okay, we are looking and we're enjoying something completely different than what we do have at home. So how do you separate yourself, or how do you separate your investors' properties that you manage from the regular, that they bought a whole bunch of furniture in Amazon and, the cookie cutter listing that it's out there? How do you create an experience?
So there's a number of different ways that can be done, and it really depends on your avatar. And I'll explain. And your avatar is your guest that you want to serve, because not everybody's going to have the same avatar,
Correct.
and different avatars require different setups, different experiences. If you're serving families with small children, they might really enjoy the fact that you're offering amenities for small children. Maybe you have a pack and play, maybe you include high chairs, children's toys, baby safe protections on the electrical outlets, things like that. Maybe your avatar is travel nurses, and maybe you're doing more of a midterm stay. Someone like that would really, really appreciate a great coffee maker and extensive coffee setup, a dark, quiet place to sleep, with room darkening shades, low noise, if you're able to insulate the property more to make it, less noisy, or if you're in a quieter area, that's a great option there. Things to keep in mind with that is not every location fits with every avatar that you want to serve. And not every location makes a good short-term rental. And that's something that needs to be taken into consideration when, going to put your property, onto the short-term rental journey. Some other great ways to create an experience, depending on the avatar, if you're trying to do luxury, by having high-end furniture and high-end like conditioner and shampoo, to give it that very luxurious feel. And that you don't have to break the bank doing that either. There's ways to, do something like that more in like a bulk manner. There's also some really great organizations that pair with short-term rental hosts and operators to give them access to luxury items at a discounted cost. It's a really interesting company that I came across. They're called Minoan, and they
Minoan? How you spell it?
Minoan,
Sorry. M-O?
Minoan. And so this company is definitely for the more high-end type of clientele. What they basically do is they have access to discounts on high-end furniture and amenities, and they partner with these various companies, and as the host, you can purchase from them at that discounted price, and you put their products up in your unit. And the additional experience factor here is they partner with these companies and allow you to experience the amenity, and then you leave a little placard in the property, and they can see where it came from and find out where to buy it, basically. So if they really enjoyed it, oh, this mattress was amazing, where do I get this? they can go and they can buy it for themselves. And then as a
Gotcha.
host, you actually get a throwback or a kickback from the sale of that. So it's a really cool way to make your property much more luxurious
And
and increase cash flow.
that sounds great. Oh, here it is. Found something you like. Scan the QR code, takes them back to the website, and I'm sure as soon as they get the QR code, you get a little kickback for it. Perfect.
Yep.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Perfect.
Yeah, and they
Um,
have all sorts of items through here. It's not just furniture. They have
CB2 Westall. Yeah.
oh yeah, no, it's nice stuff. Here you can see they have like soaps and shampoos and stuff. So you can get something like that in bulk, and you would get those really nice wall dispensers so they can be refillable. So you're getting a discount on it. You're using luxury products. You're creating an experience, and then you're getting a kickback on it too. And this is a very unique way to uh, increase your
Yeah. To get a better quality product and to the customers and extra cash flow whenever they feel like having something else. That's great. That's a good idea. The other thing that you mentioned earlier, not every property works for short-term rentals from Airbnb. What do you look for? What's your ideal property or market? Because not every market works as well. We're trying to do a few things here in North Georgia, and right where we at is not the best market, but 20 minutes north from us, it's the mountains, and it's exploded. So how do you find a market that works, that has not been again exploded by a million people, and where you can build yourself a good niche and a good product?
So this kind of goes back again to who your avatar is going to be, because that's something you really want to get clear on
Mhm.
before you start picking properties. You need to know who you want to serve. And you could honestly create a short-term rental in most markets and be successful with it with the right systems and processes.
Mhm.
Um, from my understanding and experience, it's definitely a less risky option to pick a short-term rental in a market that has already got
Yeah,
regulations in place. Because if you go somewhere where there's no regulations at all, you don't know what could happen in the future. You could get set up, you could start going, you could be doing great, and then the neighbors decide that they don't like what you're doing, the government decides, and they come and shut you down. And then, you're out on your investment. So, more regulated markets is preferred. I like Florida personally because, like I said, we've been doing vacation rentals before short-term
forever.
rentals were a thing. Um, and it also depends on the size of the property that you can afford. You don't want to get into something that doesn't make sense for you financially.
Of course.
And you really can, depending on what your avatar is, you can start looking into statistics for what area they would want to be in. So, for example, I mentioned travel nurses earlier. They're kind of an interesting group of folks because it's something that came up a lot in the past couple of years, especially with COVID. A lot of people were interested in hosting travel nurses. But a lot of people who were doing this wanted to do it in major metropolitan areas. For travel nurses, though, where they're needed is actually very rural areas where they don't have that staff on hand. So, going to a small town with one hospital, in the middle of nowhere and setting up your short-term rental, that would be a better option, for your travel nurse avatar. Of course, you want to do your research, due diligence, contact the hospital, make sure they have a travel nurse program, understand what the influx of nurses is like, and it's not just nurses, it can be, doctors and surgeons and things like that, but traveling medical professionals. Um, and, you can, if you have a property already, say you have something and you are renting it long term and you want to make it a short term, what's going on in the area? What is it close to? If it's a larger house, is it something that families would want to stay in? What is the tourism like in the area? And you know, what is the level of competition in the area as well? You know, it's and not only how much competition is there, but what are they providing? You know, is it a bunch of hosts that came in and, you know, threw some furniture into a shoebox, and you can come in and create a highly competitive experience and blow them out of the water? You know, or are you coming into a market where there is a lot of very professional Airbnbs or short-term rentals, you know, and what are they offering? Are you going to be able to compete with where your budget level is at? You know, those are very important things to take into consideration, because nobody should get into an investment where they're not comfortable with the budget, or they're not able to, you know, put the amount in that's required to deliver to make that return. I get questions from people where, you know, their property, they have it and they're renting it long term, and they want to transition, and you know, I'm very honest with them, you know, that I'll let them know what it's suited for, and if it doesn't work for one thing, you know, we can always look into another option, you know, and see if it's a good fit.
Gotcha. Now, do you use any tools? Because I've we talk about I personally use AirDNA in the past, and there's a few more. What was the other one? Match Advisor, I think it was.
Mash Advisor is honestly better for long-term rental data.
Mhm.
I use AirDNA. I also use a tool called Raboo. It's RABBU. They're very similar to AirDNA. The data can be different,
Okay.
even though you're looking at some of the same listings in there. So what I do on top of that is I actually go into Airbnb and Vrbo, and I do research on the actual other listings that are live. Some of the data you get in Airbnb or AirDNA can be outdated. You know, Raboo has had some outdated stuff as well. You know, I have seen variations, but you know, by doing your full due diligence between your, you know, couple different tools, and then doing manual actual review on real listings, you know, you can start to build a comparison of, you know, listings in the area, what to expect, and get an idea of how much you should be charging on yours, and you know, a lot of other amenities that need to be included, the total guest count that you should be accepting, you know, because some areas people want places where you can sleep a lot of people. Other areas it makes sense where you have, you know, smaller groups staying. So
Correct.
it's really finding out what your competition is doing, you know, and being able to prepare yourself to have a competitive advantage, you know, and create that experience.
That's great. I didn't know about this one. I'm gonna say because I've heard about their DNA, and basically what they do is they go around and it's a big spider, so they track all the information, all the data from every listing in Airbnb, and what they do is they track it by location, by start for free. I think my wife had a login. I don't have it here. So they track seasonality as well. They track if whether the property it's depending on the amount of people that you want to put in the property. You can do that's the other beautiful thing about short-term rentals. In short-term rentals, you can modify your listing depending on the season. For example, I got a friend up here that she has Airbnbs, and when it's low season, boom, guess what? She accepts pets. In the high season, she gets really, really quiet daughter accept pets, and she pinpoints the people that she wants to take over, by the reviews, etc. And when it's not, then she's like, I take whatever because I need to pay those bills. And obviously takes a little bit of a risk, but it's better to have a little bit of risk than have an empty property. Something that's cash flowing, need to cash flow all the time. That's basically it's a business. Okay. Any other tools that you might check just in case so we can tell everybody so they want to look into their locations? Oh, this is nice.
These are the main data tools I use. Yeah. And then I just wanted to mention on your comment on risks. So there are a lot of ways to minimize your risks when it
Mhm.
comes to short-term rentals. Um, and I think that, you know, when done right, even if you say there are risks, it's generally unlikely if you're doing things like screening your guests appropriately, asking the right questions,
So why
installing.
your three top ways to screen a problem, let's say.
So I just like to ask the guests, you know, what they're in town for. You know, if they're local, I definitely ask more questions. My listing, we do get more local people just because the area that it's in will have folks that are maybe in between housing, or they're, you know, working and their employer's paying for the location. Um, you know, or it's sometimes it's families, you know, that are coming to visit from out of town, and they want to stay with somebody that's local, but the person doesn't have enough space at their own place, so they'll rent our
Sure.
space so they have a bigger space for the family. But you know, asking, you know, why they're in town. I always get the first and last names of everybody in the group that's staying. It's in my house rules. It's required by Wellington, so
Yes.
you know, it's, you know, and which I for good reason, definitely. And I always request that they have read and agreed to the house rules, so there's no way that they can say that, oh, I didn't know, you know, because I have everything very clearly spelled out of what's okay and
I
what's
hear
not.
you. I hear you. One of the best ones that my friend has is she doesn't rent to locals, period. Because usually locals are looking for a party place. So it's like,
Yeah,
no.
well, so you can also minimize that with longer day stays. You
Hmm.
know, obviously don't do one night stays, 2 night minimum at least. Um, you know, I do use a dynamic pricing tool that will sometimes accept last minute 1 day stays if I have
Hmm.
like an open in my calendar, because
Okay.
you know that's a great way to fill your calendar. Sometimes people just need somewhere to stay last minute, and you know, with the additional screening that you can do, you can be pretty sure, on top of having, you know, a camera in place, that you know you can minimize the amount of risk associated with it, you know. And also making friends with the neighbors is another great way to keep
Absolutely.
the risks lower. Yeah, that's something I recommend to anybody who's hosting.
Oh,
Introduce yourself
this is
first.
Wellington Mall right here, and the hospital
Yep.
is somewhere over there. Yeah,
Right
so
around the corner. I
I
think
know exactly what this is.
it's right where that purple. Oh no, actually, I think it's across on the other corner. I think from where the purple
Yes, I
dot
think the big
is.
hospital is here. Yeah.
Yep.
I know exactly what this is. And one of the things that I wanted to you just mention about cameras, just to let's clarify to everybody, cameras are not legal inside the units, correct? Because every guest needs to
Correct.
have privacy, but you are allowed to have cameras on the outside of your unit because you can see
Correct.
what's going on coming in and out on the patio, whatever. Again, you need to secure your property or the property that you're managing, but you are not allowed to record tenants inside the property. However, you know, if they're having a party, they're going to be outside, I'm sure. So you can see problems, you know, before they happen or while they're happening. And what she said about just making friends with the neighbors, that's the first thing. You don't want the neighbors to be against you. They're going to be the first one calling the cops or doing everything to shut you down. So if you make a good relationship with them, hey, you know, that's the first place where the family is going to stay when they come visit. Come think of it.
Yeah. Yeah. And also, if they have your number, they'll call you first before they call the police. So that's always recommended. Not that I've ever had that experience happen, because I screen my guests to where we have not had any parties. Um, but you know, I have been able to call on them, you know, if I wasn't able to get there immediately, for them to check something, which is also really nice, you know, to have just that communication, and also to make sure that the guests aren't bothering them with, you know, trash or things like that. You know, it's important to have that rapport with them.
Perfect. So let's say you know, you're a short-term rental manager, Airbnb manager, I got a house. What's the next step? I don't want to deal with it. I want to do short-term rentals because everybody told me that short-term rentals gets way more cash flow than having a regular tenant. So I give you the property. What's the next steps? What do we do next?
So if it is an unfurnished property, then we would need to go through a design package process. That would require not only the furniture, but, the tech, all of the supplies, all of your kitchenware. You definitely want a stocked kitchen when you're doing a short-term rental. That's one of the benefits of being, in a house or an apartment as opposed to being in a hotel room, is being able to cook. You want to make sure that you get all the amenities in place. You need your permitting, you need your insurance. You need to get with Florida, you need your business tax receipt. It varies from state to state, and you need your DVPR license, which they did not used to look into it, but they are pushing legislation to really crack down on people for not getting the license for the Department of Business and Regulation.
So basically, they just want their tax money. As long as
They
you pay
do.
tax money,
They do.
it is what it is.
They do. And you know what? It's worth it to do it right so that you don't run
Absolutely.
into fines, because once they start fining you, some cities fine you $1,000 a day, and at that point, is it worth it? On top of the stress that you receive from a situation like that, it's just not worth it. So do it right if you're going to do it.
Okay, so we stock a property. Where do we stock a property? We just found a place where we have some furniture. What about the rest of the stocking? Just regular Amazon purchases, just stock a kitchen, towels, bed coverings, all that stuff, make you feel like home. And then what? Then you prepare a listing, photos, and you price it, and you basically go live. How's the day-to-day management of one of these properties?
So day to day, at the beginning, there's some more involved in it, of course, getting the little gotchas, in place. And because there's always something that'll come up, something could break, a handle or a door or something, So being able to react quickly, if it happens when a guest is there, is very important. Obviously, we want everything to be as perfect as possible when our guests come to stay, but things happen sometimes, and as long as you are responsive, and you are empathetic and take care of things in a timely manner, guests understand. People who stay at short-term rentals, for the most part, they understand it's not a hotel. There's not a 24-hour concierge. They're also getting a much better deal than they would be getting staying in a hotel.
Absolutely.
So by, providing excellent service and being very responsive, it's really, once you get those processes moving forward, it really is not nearly as much as in the beginning. But really what's important there is making sure your cleaners are on top of things, that they understand that they're doing a turnover for a short-term rental. It's not just cleaning a house, that's much more in depth. Cleanliness is the #1 deal breaker when it comes to, your short-term rental. If your cleaning team is not taking care of what needs to be taken care of, that's going to be a problem. Because your livelihood, it depends on your reviews. Yeah, and one-star review can take a listing all the way down. So that's really like the kiss of death there. And then other important things to be able to keep on top of is you want backups, for your towels and linens, and having enough, backups. You want to make sure also that you're providing enough amenities, for the guests, for the amount of time they're staying, or you're transparent about what you're providing. So when I say amenities, I'm talking about like shampoo, conditioner, toilet paper, paper towels, soap, things that people are provided when they come. And, if they're staying for a couple days, a starter pack is fine. If they're staying for a couple weeks, then you want to make it clear that you're probably not going to provide, the amount for the full, 3 weeks if they're staying for 3 weeks. Unless it's a highly luxury unit that has storage space to, to keep that sort of things. Usually though, about a week's worth of supplies is what we like to put out for our guests, so they can be comfortable. They don't have to run to the store, and when it does run out, they have some fair warning that it's, gonna not be available.
Perfect. And I wanted to point out something that you just mentioned earlier. Your cleaning crew. Your cleaning crew is basically your eyes and ears on that property because you don't go to that property every day. So you have them check. Do you have a checklist for them to follow? Do you have some kind of recurring things that they have to do no matter what we're listing? Perfect.
Yes, yeah, we have a full checklist. I also require them to take pictures once they've completed their cleaning. And they upload them to a tool that we use to manage our cleaners called Operato Teams.
Mhm.
That's just it's a contractor cleaning management application that allows the automation of your bookings to get sent into the system, and then it notifies your cleaners, it puts it on their calendar, and it sets up a way for them to upload the pictures and put in any issues they found when they do the
Well, you
cleaning.
don't have to be rushing around and texting people, hey, you need to get there. The system takes care of the whole thing by yourself.
Exactly.
Perfect. Perfect. The other thing I want to mention, I'm not sure about your compensation, but I've heard a couple of people that they pay extra to the cleaners, like a percentage of the revenue, because again, they're part of the business. If the business don't work, so that gets them even, they put you in the priority one because obviously they don't just clean for you. They probably have 2 or 3 companies, but when something happens, they take you as a priority because they're taking a little extra besides the hourly rate or whatever they charge for the unit. They have a little extra on coming on the back end, like a little extra cash flow thing. So I know a couple of people do that. That's a good
So
idea. And again, you're in the top of the list. Every time there's a problem, there's taken care of. What was the software used with the cleaners? Let me find the website.
it's Operato Teams, Operto.
Aporto team.
Operto.
OPE. All right,
To.
right there.
Yep. Yeah, it's pretty simple. My client likes to use this. There's other options to manage your contractors out there, like Breezeway. That's a big one. Um, and some other ways to integrate. I believe Airbnb has its own Teams functionality as well. I'm not experienced with that particular feature in there, but I have looked at it before. But that point you made about paying your cleaners the percentage, so that's a new one actually. I haven't heard of that particular strategy. We pay our cleaners very competitively, and we like to make sure that they're well taken care of. So I think that I honestly feel like they get paid more than they would based off of a percentage. And we just we have the relationship where they know what they need to do and they let us know, if anything's needed, and there's a clear line of communication, um, where we can give them the autonomy to take care of the place because they do such an excellent job. They really do. Yeah.
That's awesome. Now, another question I just came over, it was on my list, but regarding platforms, we always heard Airbnb became a noun. So everybody goes to an Airbnb. However, we have different platforms that, VRBO and the Guestly, I've seen this one way, Hostaway, I've seen a couple of times. Do you prefer one to the other? Is there any benefits to one to the other or not really?
So Airbnb is the most user friendly, most definitely. It's also the biggest household name.
Yeah.
It's definitely one of many OTAs, which is an online travel agency. From my experience, VRBO does not have the best customer service. In more recent times, Airbnb's customer service does not side with hosts unless you do things correctly, which I understand. They are supporting their customers. They want the customers to feel safe and like they are being heard and getting what they're paying for. So if you're not doing what's right, then you could run into that situation where maybe support's not going to back you there. I've heard with booking.com before that chargebacks have been more of an issue, but I do know that they're coming out with a new payment processor this year, I believe. So that should become less of an issue because you're not handling the payment processing on your own. But in reality, all of these OTAs are not the end goal. You don't want to stay on those forever because OTAs can tell you what they want anytime they want to. They can change their policies, they can lock you off, they can cancel all of your reservations. A wise man once said, don't build your home on someone else's land. And that is why direct bookings are, the end goal. Obviously, at the beginning, when you have a new listing, you're not going to just go up and put your own direct booking website, because you're probably not going to get a lot of bookings at that point.
Exactly.
But creating, your listing through one or multiple of the OTAs, start building your clientele list, and then starting to do outreach once they've stayed with you. There's a tool, it's a Wi-Fi router called StayFi that will collect your guests' email addresses. Everybody who logs into the Wi-Fi on the property, it'll collect their email, and then you can use it to do marketing outreach, once they stayed with you, because Airbnb doesn't share that information with you.
Okay.
And Airbnb actually removes the mobile number now after a couple weeks of them, leaving your property. So, that's another thing where you would use your PMS, your property management system, to collect that kind of information, so you can do additional outreach where you can contact your guests and you can say, hey, this is an option we're giving you to book direct, where you can save on any of the OTA fees, because Airbnb charges the guests 14% to book, and those fees can get kind of insane, honestly, because you'll think that you're paying one price and then you get in there to book and you're like, oh, this is like twice as much. And by giving them that discount, you're actually saving yourself money too by doing the direct booking, because you pay 3% as a host on Airbnb. So you cut out that entire payout that's going, directly to them, and you can still charge a little bit more than what you would be charging on your nightly rate on Airbnb, because you're undercutting their fees.
Of course. And they're paying less than they will be because of the fees and et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Yep. And you get all your own policies, you make the rules. Obviously, you need to put proper rental agreements in place to protect yourself. If you're doing more than 30-day stays, you need additional protections on there, because that's where you run into the risk of squatting. And obviously you need to know the laws of your local area, because the length of time for squatting varies depending on where you're
Depending on the
at.
location. Yeah, Florida's 30 days. So usually you got the short-term rentals up to 29, and you need to make sure they live at 29, because after 30 days, they become regular tenants, whether you like them or not. So even there's some places they're required to have utilities on their name. In Florida, they don't care about any of that. They just need to be there 30 days and it's yours. So now they come a whole host of things where, if you have a problem where they don't want to pay, then you go to the regular tenant route, which is evictions, attorneys. It becomes an aggravation. And I'm sure then we just talk about it. You're doing it yourself. Airbnb is not going to help you this one. So make sure that and make sure, if you don't know, that's where Hannah is here. Just make sure that you get somebody that it's going to know the local areas, know the markets, and it's going to run away. It's going to run with you, try to help you avoid all those troubles and all these issues, and just get you what's the Venmo money now, because it's not Venmo money anymore. It's not Mailbox money. It's now Venmo money. Every time you got a listing, you got bling, a little bit of bling in your phone that you got money coming in. That's the whole idea. All right. So what's next for Hannah? Where do we go from here? What's your next step?
My next step, I'm looking to help more clients, maximize their cash flow. There are a lot of folks that bought, during the craze of 2020, 2021, and said, hey, I can do this Airbnb thing, let me just manage it myself. And not realizing there's a lot that goes into it. There really, really is. It's so intricate, all the little facets, and that's where I would come in, because say they've been managing it for, a year or so, and they're starting to get sick of being pinged by guests, and having to answer to why the handle broke off the wall, or, why is the power out,
There's no
things like
hot
that.
water or whatever, toilet.
Yeah, yeah, something like that, and as an investor, you really want to be focusing your time on its highest and best use.
Correct.
So, operating an Airbnb is, it's a very day-to-day heavy task sometimes. And so being able to turn to somebody who's a professional, who has that expertise, that can run it for you, it puts it on automatic mode.
Correct.
I very rarely talk to my client. If it mostly if we need approval, to do like a big repair or something like that. But other than that, she just gets the check at the end of the month, and
And that's
this
it.
yeah, happy customers.
Yeah, because ideally, that's the other thing. If I buy a home and start doing the whole Airbnb thing, I am going to treat it like a mom and pop. I really, for one property, it doesn't pay to have all the tools that you have, put on the time to understand how they work, to go over, do I need to change the price? Do I need to change here? Do I need to change what's going on? With the manager that has several properties, it's cost effective to do all that for you. So again, when we're really, me and Hector are huge at that. Give the property to a property manager. If you want to be a short-term rental manager or a long-term rental manager, they know how not to get you in trouble, and they know how to maximize your money coming in and coming out. Okay, out of the transaction. I did not know that you can buy furniture and get a kickback out of it. That's amazing, you know. So again, it's those things where you know, let them fine tune your whole operation, and then just sit down and just look at your listing every time that you want, and just look at your bank account at the end of the month. It's perfect. All right. So, what else? Last question. What have I not asked you that I should have asked you?
Oh, that's a
I,
trick question.
I know that method.
Well, one thing that came to mind when you're talking about figuring out the pricing, is just another tool that I love to use, called Price Labs for dynamic pricing,
Price labs.
which is it's it's not automated per se. You definitely need to do some research to get it set up, and it takes a little time to get the numbers making sense. But basically what it does is, dynamic pricing will change your price on a daily basis based on data in, the surrounding area. Not only does it look at Airbnb, and Vrbo occupancy, it also looks at hotel occupancy. And it's able to identify, if there is a increase in bookings, far out ahead, it will increase your price for those dates. And as you get closer, you can put rules in place that might change it, and it'll change it on its own based on, if you're getting bookings, what your occupancy rate is like. It looks at your historical occupancy rate. And there's just a lot of features of it that just make it absolutely required to run an Airbnb. Not, you don't have to use this tool specifically. I like this one. There is other dynamic pricing tools. I think another one is, I think it's called Wheelhouse. There's there's a few though,
Sarah, yeah, if you Google, I'm sure there should be a bunch of them. And I'm sure
yeah.
now, as soon as I Googled this one, Vacasa, something for Vacasa came up. So I'm sure now each one of those are giving you their, tool so you can use them as well. And once you get the tool, you use them as a platform to list. Ideally, they will want to get everything in house so they can, squeeze all the money out of you. That's, profit.
Yeah, but with Vacasa, generally people who go with them, they end up leaving them not too long after, because Vacasa is just infamous for giving terrible customer service and subpar furnishings and amenities. So, that's where having
I
a
knew Vacasa from where you had a home and you had vacation rentals, way before all this. So they've been players since forever, but I get they never, upgraded their mentality because they've been the ones that, they will always have in a little town, all the 20 mountain cabins, they were there. They always have in a little town all the, 20 houses, beach houses that are there, but they never really went and I guess updated their systems. Because I mean, you used to drive by in the little towns and you always saw the Vacasa signs.
mm, yeah, I feel like those little mountain cabins are the ones that they don't provide you sheets with, and you need to bring your own. So I'm just saying, we're creating a much more elevated experience here. So
Yeah, I'm sure those are the chimneys that put all the smoke inside so keep you warm. All right, let's see if we have any questions from the group. Anybody that has a question? I think Natasha was asking a few things about Airbnb. Do you give any, meanwhile, do you give any, I'm not gonna say presents, but like souvenirs or something with your name, with your branding? So you can create a branding with your clients in order to get them back in your listing. Some people usually, when they travel to a location, they usually go back and like to stay at the same place. Do you do any of that or extra pricing, extra incentives?
So I don't have any branded items to take. I do leave a welcome gift. I like to put out a nice bottle of wine and some popcorn, because those are things that I love. It's wine that I love to drink. And it's what's great about the popcorn is, if somebody gets there really late and everything's closed, they can at least throw that in the microwave and make something hot to eat. And people
Everybody,
who
everybody loves popcorn. It's one of those
everybody
things
loves
that everybody
popcorn,
loves popcorn.
yeah. And people who have not eaten are generally hangry, and so we like to avoid hangry guests as much as possible.
Any other ideas, suggestions for people that are starting that they want to go into the Airbnb, what to look for to start, or how be the best way not to make a mistake going in? Just run
I
numbers,
would,
basically.
I would say not just that, you really want to try and find a mentor if you can, or quality content that you can learn, how to do if you're not going to go with a property manager. You don't want to just jump in there and not have the right systems in place, because it is a higher risk. There is a higher investment required to furnish a property rather than just, renting to a long-term guest or long-term tenant. So really getting educated is so important before you start any venture. I mean, I'm sure you understand this very thoroughly, considering you create education for investors. And it's just, yeah, making sure that you understand what's needed, but also not getting stuck in analysis paralysis, because, if you don't do anything, then nothing will happen.
Here, Natasha is saying that she has an acupressure massage mat that will be a great gift for each one of your guests. It's or a little massage ball. It's $3.50. If you're interested, let her know. I'll put you guys in contact. Natasha, do you have a website with your products by any chance? So we can put them here. And she says spookspace.com. This is for little gadgets for travelers. All right, perfect. Little gadgets, little things. Natasha's been with us for a while here in real life training. So let's get to her website. So that's a good idea. I know a couple of people that they leave a little thing on their, as a present for, for guests or whatever. Or they usually, oh, this is the pressure balls. That's cool.
Mm.
That's cool. Actually, I need one of those. I just got plantar fasciitis. I got yesterday. Went to the doctor. He told me to get
Oh
a few
no.
things. Yeah, somebody told me that I could run, and you know how it goes. I'm trying to be like Yates.
Oh no. Yeah, sounds like
Yeah,
you could use one of those.
yeah, I could definitely use one of these. I got a shot of cortisone in the plant of the feet. That wasn't nice. Hey, it happens. Actually, yeah, I'm gonna get one of these as soon as we're out of here. Yep, because this is and Tasha, is this one it's a hard ball or it's soft? Because I need a hard one to. Oh, perfect, perfect. I need one of those because it's for the to roll the foot on both feet actually. That's perfect. Actually, little gift, because yeah, I know people that they brand chocolates or they brand a couple little things with like heavenly guest services or whatever, and they get you in the back of the mind. And again, you are in Instagram, so they can follow you here and they can follow you by email. Okay, so any questions from the group? If not, we'll wrap this one up. Hector disappeared. I'm sure he's having a lot of conversations and buying several multifamilies as we speak. And if not, let's wrap this one out. Anna, thank you so much for your time. We
Thank you for
really
having me.
appreciate it. If you guys have any questions, Hannah with Heavenly Hosting Services is here. Her Instagram, her website, her email. Website is there. Guys, next thing, mentorships. We are doing the fix and flip mentorships starting by the end of the month. Okay, we talked about this. We can buy a house, fix it, and then do a short-term rental. We can buy a house, fix it, and flip it, and you get a nice little check at the end of the transaction. Or you can buy your house, fix it, and then rent it, and you get a little bit of money extra every month. But the whole thing starts with buying it at a proper price and fixing it for the least amount of headaches and money possible. So that's where we are. Hector and me are doing the fix and flip mentorships. I'm starting on Wednesdays at 8:30. On the 20th, Hector studies taking the daytime because he has babies and this is nighttime for him, is sleepy time for the babies. This one, so he's doing 12:30 to 1:30 starting the 21st. Where do you find that information? Here, as always, real estate at reallifetrading.com. That's us. If not, you go to reallifetrading.com/RE. QR codes are here. You can find us. If you see us live, thank you so much, guys, here for being with us. If you're in YouTube, like and subscribe. We love the algorithm. Please, if you do that, we're going to come up to the top every time. Actually, we've been doing really well. So keep doing it, please. Like and subscribe. And with this, let's wrap it up. Thank you so much. And see you in 2 weeks, in 2 Fridays.